Hey guys, Nikki here from The Weird Life of Us, where we are all about getting you more bang for your buck so you can live the life you want. And today, I've got a little secret to share with you guys. This simple tip revolutionized our finances and how we handle our money. Big claims, I know, but this one simple tip stopped us from never having enough money in our account when our bills were due. So if you are currently living paycheck to paycheck, if you are constantly playing catch up, or if you're sick and tired of paying overdrawn or dishonor fees, then listen up. Hey, and don't forget, if you want to learn how to budget better, demolish debt, and have heaps of frugal fun along the way, then be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to tick that little bell so you'll get notifications every time our new videos land. We have heaps of new content in the works for you guys, and I don't want you to miss a single thing. Alright, let's get to it, shall we? The budgeting tip that revolutionized our finances was we stopped using our everyday transaction account for everything. No, seriously, we had one everyday transaction account that our income went into and then everything came out of. I'm talking our rent, our auto pays, our direct debit, and of course it had a debit card attached to it. So we were swiping here and swiping there. You know how it goes, swipe, swipe here, swipe, swipe there, here a swipe, there a swipe, everywhere a swipe, swipe. Oh my gosh, where did my money go? I mean, it was an everyday transaction account, right? And everyday transactions were coming out of this thing. And we didn't keep track of what was what. And it kind of felt like we couldn't keep this account topped up with enough money to cover everything. So let me ask you a question. Do you feel like your bank account has a hole in it? If that's you, let me know in the comments that your bank account feels leakier than a sieve. Don't be shy, we're all friends around here. Why don't you write in the comments, I've got a hole in my bucket, and I will know exactly what you are talking about. Alright, all my friends out there with holes in their buckets, how do we stop this leaky bucket situation? Well, we stopped using our everyday transaction account for everything. In the beginning, our system was pretty simple. All we did was we set up two new everyday transaction accounts. The first one was what we dubbed the holding tank, and it was simply an account for our income, our pays to go into. From there, it would be split into two different accounts. Part of our income would go into our newly created bills account, which was an account set up just to hold the funds for all of our fixed expenses, things like rent and money for our elect bills, any direct deposits and auto pays. The money would sit safely in this account until needed. The rest of our money was then directed to our old everyday transaction account, which we then called our daily spending account. This transaction account had money for our day-to-day spending, all of our variable expenses, things like groceries and fuel and eating out and clothes, all of those things that aren't a fixed expense and vary week to week or day to day depending on our spending habits. We found it easier to change the billing information on all of our auto pays and direct debits to our new bills account. That way, when we divided up our pay from our holding tank, our bills were all handled in our bills account. We put money aside in our bills account for our bills, and then our bills came directly out of that account. We also really liked having our income deposited into our holding tank so that it was separate from any build-up of savings that we may have, particularly in our bills account. If we were setting aside money for yearly or quarterly bills, it was nice to be able to keep that money separate from our actual pay. That way we could see exactly what was what. Our money flowed in one direction. It came into our holding tank and then it went to either our bills account for our fixed expenses, or it went into our spending account for our day-to-day variable expenses. This really streamlined our banking and made it easy for us to see what we needed to hold on to and what we could spend. Keeping things simple like this also meant that there was no borrowing from other accounts or swapping between accounts. It was very clear cut what was bill money and what we needed to hold on to, and what was spending money and what we could spend. So it's probably fair to say that the budgeting tip that revolutionized our finances was realizing that we needed to separate our variable expenses from our fixed expenses. This separation gave us the first piece of real control in our finances. And it was as simple as setting up an account for our income to go into, setting up an account for our bills and our fixed expenses, for the funds for those to sit in until needed, and an account that we could spend out of and know that the money in that account was allocated for spending. As time went on, we did refine our system and we separated our money even further than that. These days we have quite a few sinking funds and savings accounts. We use cash envelopes. I think we separate our money into about 15 different categories. Now, you guys don't have to go that far, and if you are just beginning, simply separating out your fixed expenses from your day-to-day spending will make a huge difference to your personal finances. Now, of course, none of this really works if you don't already have a budget in place. You need to know how much to put aside for your fixed expenses and how much to put aside for your variable expenses and your day-to-day spending. So, if you don't already have a budget, or you do have a budget but it doesn't really work, or you don't really love it, then I want you to head over to weirdlifeofus.com/budget blueprint and grab a copy of our free budget blueprint cheat sheet. This cheat sheet will walk you step by step through building a budget that actually works for you. And of course, I would love for you to join us at our next Budget Blueprint Workshop, which goes into even more detail and covers things like sinking funds and snowballs, and answers those tricky questions like how much should I actually be spending on groceries, and what do I do if I forget something in my budget. Even if you are catching this video later on down the track, I do run these workshops all the time, so I would love for you to join me at the next one so you can get your budget working properly. So head on over to weirdlifeofus.com/budget blueprint and grab your free budget blueprint cheat sheet so you can get started today. So the budgeting tip that revolutionized our finances really was as simple as understanding that we needed to separate the money that we put aside for our fixed expenses from the money that we could spend day to day. Having this separation in our finances meant that we were guaranteed to have the funds to cover our fixed expenses when they were due, and still have the freedom to be able to spend on our variable expenses as we liked. Of course, within reason, because once the money ran out in our everyday spending account, well, the money was gone and we weren't going to touch the money that we had put aside for our bills. But it is true to say that this separation really gave us the first step in taking control of our finances. So what do you think? Did you find this video useful? If you did, could you please give it a thumbs up and let me know. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date with all of our latest content. We have heaps of new videos in the works for you guys to help you live your best life, whatever your budget is. Oh, and hey, if you're all about that budget life, we should totally catch up. Come and say good day over on our Facebook page or come find us on Instagram at Weird Life of Us. We would love to get to know you and hang out for a bit. But right now, we got some leaky buckets to go plug. There's a hole in my bucket. Well, fix it, dear Henry, dear Henry. I've been reading way too much Scott paper. Buckets. Buckets with holes in them.